Hello everyone and welcome back to New Horizons, where we managed to pass two major milestones in the previous episode, the next tier of circuit, the nanoprocessors, and applied energistics to auto-crafting. To craft the new circuits, we set up two more LCRs, one for sulfuric acid and the other for iron 3. We connected a bunch more fluids up to our AE system, crafted 3 more EV machines in the form of the circuit assembler, the cutting machine and the laser engraver, and those we put in the expanded and relocated clean room. It's now in a much more appropriate location and is also connected to applied energistics, meaning that with some interfaces we can very easily automate the machine processes inside. And since the last episode, I've now went ahead and encoded the recipes for all the circuits from LV to IV. Additionally, I've kept busy doing some busy work, so to say, around the base, things which are invisible but very necessary to keep the base running at this point. Refilling the fuel on the blast furnaces and all the other manual setups, manually processing down some ores, and I also moved the single block HV miner to the Twilight Forest. I found that our setup for PTFE was a little bit low on fluorine. So yeah, now that we have the auto-crafting, we're really going to be flying from here. Hopefully in a rocket one day soon. In fact, we're almost out of the Mars material, so we might have to return there for a little mining trip. As if we don't have enough material waiting to be processed. Look at all this stuff. Like, all of this. We need to do something about this, and that means we need ore processing, right? However, one of the things we need in very large quantities for ore processing is power. I mean, it also takes things like platinum, tungsten, tungsten steel, ZPM circuits, LUV circuits, crazy amount of material cost as well, but the power situation is a more pressing matter, and is something today we're going to take steps to fix. Also, it's probably worth pointing out that, oh, wait a second, isn't that Bone Man down there? Yeah, we're going to grab this guy. But yeah, as you guys know, we use gas turbines, the single block gas turbines, to power pretty much every machine in the base. These things. With the exception of the AE system, which is powered by the Dragon Egg. But what I want to do is have a centralized power production facility, and instead of using P2Ps to distribute benzene around, we are actually going to use various forms of power cable around the base, and then we can send the wire through the wiring tunnels along with the applied energistics cables, which is why it was very important to design these things in early. Now, there is some challenges doing this, mainly cable loss and transforming power, since not everything we're going to run at one tier, but we will cross those bridges when we come to them, so to say. First of all, we need the technology. Oh, this is so loud. Okay, stop. Stop. Some of you guys actually suggested adding an alert system, which I think I might actually do. I mean, if this wasn't enough of an alert, I don't know what is, but to make sure the machines stop, that is, whenever we have maintenance issues. Just in case we're not here or we remotely order a crafter. We should turn this off, though. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we need the technology to make this happen. Okay, so the first thing is to start off with the slow processes. We are going to need a painful amount of tungsten and tungsten steel. Tungsten is 400 seconds per ingot, and tungsten steel is 125 seconds per ingot. And with the setup we have, we can only cook them in one blast furnace right now. So tungsten comes from scheelite ore, which we can find on Mars. There is a few other locations we can find it, but that's the most plentiful stockpile that we have at the moment. And we have our little tungstate processing area over here, which I noticed was out of hydrochloric acid. And over at main fluid storage, we were also out of hydrochloric acid after we used it all for iron 3. And the iron 3 combined with the epichlorohydrin actually used all of our chlorine to make more hydrochloric acid. So I gathered up all the salt that we had in stockpile and electrolyzed that for chlorine. We were able to use that to refill the tank of chlorine at main fluid storage, and that was sent to the LCR, which automatically refills the hydrochloric acid. And then I just manually transferred it over to our little tungstate processing area. We had to get as much of this through the blast furnace as possible. So it starts off as tungstic acid, then becomes tungsten trioxide. And then some of that we want to turn into tungsten steel, mixing with steel in a mixer. And then the rest will go into the 400-second blast furnace process for tungsten ingots. Since the tungsten steel takes oxygen to smelt and the tungsten takes hydrogen, I found that I was constantly switching fluids in the blast furnace. So we actually invested in a quad input hatch. Not super difficult to craft at this point in the game. But this actually allows 4 different fluids in the same hatch of the blast furnace. I believe this is actually new in this version. Yeah, really nice feature to have now. Okay, so we are still waiting on some of the tungsten processing right now and tungsten steel. This has been running for many hours. In fact, I did AFK a little bit here. However, we have some spare tungsten steel dust, and I have also been processing vanadium, which is here, and some chrome and molybdenum, which we also have here. Yeah, I want to make up some high-speed steel G dust. There is a few different kinds of high-speed steel, but hss-g is actually the next tier of coil block for the blast furnaces. I'm looking for the mixer here. Oh, wait a second, this has to be an EV mixer. Not a problem, we do have one of those. There we go. And unsurprisingly, this also has to go through the blast furnace, so I might actually pick up another blast furnace. It's a difficult decision, honestly. It's 30 seconds to mix this stuff. We do get 9 dust per, but then it's 90 seconds, another 90 seconds through the blast furnace. And the trouble is we can only cook it in the tungsten steel one. I don't want to make more tungsten steel coils though. I would rather just, yeah, you know what? We're going to skip the line. You are going to cook hss-g. Yeah, and then hopefully we can get a set of hss-g coils for this one. And that way we can have both of these running at the same time. And this hss-g dust is also going to be used as a power cable. The details are not very important right now. We will get into those later on. But yeah, we need we need a lot of this stuff. So now we have a lot of time to kill. I would like to look at how we're going to store all of this power. And if you guys are lost right now, don't worry. It's all going to come together in the end. However, we're going to have basically, well, in essence, it's going to be a large battery system underneath our ME controller. And right now, the biggest battery that we have access to is the Lapotronic crystals, holding 10 million each. I want to bump this up to the Lapotronic energy orbs, which hold 100 million. The problem is this is not a cheap thing to produce. It's it's ridiculous, honestly. But it's definitely a worthwhile investment, and we can upgrade these things into the Lapotronic supercapacitor, and this thing holds like trillions of EU. It's a big multi-block battery, which is even more expensive than these Lapotronic energy orbs. So not something we can craft right now, but we can upgrade these orbs into that thing later on. The problem with this plan is it takes a lot of platinum. And platinum is not exactly an easy thing for us to get yet either. Are you seeing a trend here? We need everything for everything. We are in a chicken and egg situation here, so we have to start small. As for platinum right now, we have, I think, 1300 platinum metallic powder, but this is not one-to-one with platinum ingots. At least without sending it through multiple different machine processes. Yeah, chemical reactor into chemical reactor into chemical reactor. Oh wait, no, I think there's a blast furnace and there's a sifter in there somewhere. And then you have to make ammonium chloride. Yeah, doing all of that is something we'll have to set up eventually. And I don't want to just half do it, I want to make sure it's done properly, and we don't have the resources or power to do that yet. However, platinum is something we'll need in other areas of progression over the next few episodes. And do you guys remember when we got palladium for the cleaver? Well, the start of that chain is also the same one we used for platinum, and we had some of the materials left over from it, like the nitric acid. So I spent more time than I care to admit actually manually processing this, as I want it to be as efficient as possible with platinum metallic powder. There is the inefficient blast furnace recipe with the nuggets, but yeah, I'd rather just spend the extra time and make sure we got the most yield out of our platinum. And then I also made a start to some of the other things we would need for today to fix the power situation. You know those Ivy enchanted loot bags that we got a couple episodes back? Those came in huge for us. We managed to get the Ivy assembling machine. This thing is awesome, the very first white machine. It's also been a few hours. We did manage to get our platinum, stacking 46, and we're left with quite a bit of extra platinum metallic powder, at least whenever we recycle the byproducts. But we also, as you can see, have the hss-g we need for the next tier of coil. And I did try to do this in an EV assembly machine, but I realized it takes Ivy. Yeah, I bet everyone's done that by now. But yeah, we need a way to power this, and conveniently we actually have 4 amps of EV in here. So I just done a backup. We're going to actually transform using a transformer. Transform up mode. So we're outputting 1 amp of IV power. And plug this in. Nothing should explode. This is a 4 amp cable. Good, 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 good. Circuit number 3, tungsten steel, hss-g wire and mica foil. It's crafting. Aha, it's crafting. 30 seconds per coil. Oh, this is good. We have to take the small victories. We still have many hours of grind ahead of us right here. But this will help us with the blast furnace smelting. There it is. There it is, the hss-g. Nice. Although something I just remembered actually, this one is going to have to be overclocked. I'm pretty sure it only runs at HV, right? Oh, it's still MV. Oh, that's not good. Oh yeah, this certainly needs an overclock then. And so it appears over here we have run out of power in the assembling machine. Honestly though, I'm not surprised. If I remember right, we're actually powering this on... Oh no, there is 4 HV gas turbines. Yeah, so we go HV and then transform up to EV, and then into a battery buffer, and then into a transformer, and that powers IV. Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, power is a bit of a... It's a bit janky right now, needless to say. We should have some batteries here that are full we can swap out, just to get this craft done. Yeah, we can swap these things out. That should allow us to complete the craft. And restart. We shouldn't have voided anything either, because the single blocks don't void recipes if it runs out of power. And so actually, I noticed we've almost finished the EV chapter. This platinum line had a few quests which we were able to collect, and there's only a handful of quests missing. One of those is going to be our Lapotronic energy orb over here. This in fact should also be another quest for us once we get these. Aha, and it also gives us the IV enchanted... No, not enchanted, but we can enchant it. Right, I believe we have a spare motor available, which we got from the last loot bag. Yeah, we have one. Oh no, that's ULV. Nope, never mind. Wait, can we actually craft one? No. Okay, we'll save it, we'll save it. What do you guys think? Serious downgrade, right? At least if we're talking about aesthetics. Yeah, these are kind of sick coils, right? Not great. I'll have to upgrade this thing. Or overclock it is what I meant. But yeah, if we look back on the EV chapter, to unlock these Lapotronic energy orbs, we also need the green boards, which is epoxy fiber reinforced. And there's actually 2 ways to make this. We can either use molten epoxide with raw carbon fiber, which is how we got the first batch over here. These are half made. But the quest for some reason wants us to go via glass fiber. Yeah, there's 2 different recipes in the chemical bath here, and we need to get our hands on glass fiber. Just for the quest, and I do want to make sure we get the quest for this. So glass fiber comes from boron, which comes from borax, which comes from salt and rock salt. So we have a tiny little bit here. Most of it I've actually already processed through the sifting machine. And sifting salt is the most efficient way to process it, but it doesn't give you the chance at borax. So yeah, that's the quest book being nice to us once again. I mean, we can't really complain, we just got an IV loot bag. Actually, how much do we have by now? We have 6. And then it's 23 to electrolyze into boron, and then you mix that into glass fiber, or borosilicate, and then you make glass fiber. Right? Something like that. I'll make it. Anyways, if we look at the recipe here, there's also the engraved Lapotron chips, and it's 24 per orb. And if I remember correctly, each one is 8 EV circuits. No, HV circuits. Yeah, it costs us Lapotron crystals for 3. We need 24 per orb. And the Lapotrons are... Oh no, it's 2 HV circuits per. Oh boy, that's going to get expensive. But I guess we can stress test our circuit automation. Okay, this should give us the more advanced circuit boards. We're not going to get the quest, but we need these as well. And this is all something we'll have fully automated very, very soon. Once we get power and ore processing, those 2 are bigger priorities right now. Okay, there's 8 more advanced boards. We need these for the LUV circuits and the final tier of EV. So things are getting quite complex here. So yeah, I was thinking we go for 4 of these Lapotronic energy orbs. That's going to give us 400 million EU storage. So that is 96 engraved Lapotron chips, 32 Lapotron crystals, and a full stack of HV circuits. Do we have a full stack? Not quite, we have 46. Let's just craft another 32, I guess. Yeah. Oh, that feels awesome being able to do that. Anyways, yeah, I suspect this is going to take me quite a few hours to finish off this project, but I don't see anything stopping us being able to get these energy orbs. After that, we're going to look at some power production. But one thing at a time here, let's do the final, the final craft.
Gregtech made you crazy, yeah, yeah. You don't care what's real no more, no, you don't want me anymore. You only want what you can afford. This is goodbye, bye, bye. LA made you crazy, yeah, yeah. I see your stories and I can't believe all the people you meet. Think you belong with everybody else, but you belong with me. And there's nothing I can do, cause you don't see straight when it comes to her. No, she's gonna eat you up whole and spit you out, and then you'll be free.
Oh, there it is. The energy orb.
I wish you could be happy, yeah, yeah. But I can't lie. LA made you
Gregtech made you crazy, yes it did. So, as you can tell by the day counter, it's been, well, it's been a while for me. The server has been running basically all night, and, well, we have a lot of metals over here, check this out. Look at all that hss-g and tungsten. I probably should have converted more of it into tungsten and tungsten steel. I don't think we quite need this much hss-g. Yeah, I think you can actually centrifuge the dust if worst comes to worst, but I mean, if at all possible, we want to avoid that, right? And yeah, I also implemented another quad input hatch on this one, and that allows us to put the 3 super tanks in the floor, and we just have some conduits feeding those 2 hatches. So we can basically throw whatever you want in either of these 2 blast furnaces now. Pretty cool. I've been spending a lot of time over there just making sure those things were full. But I've also been busy crunching some numbers, and you guys know me with the numbers, right? And multi-blocks. It's the perfect combination. Threefold plus numbers plus multi-blocks is sure to equal a disaster, so I wanted to make sure my calculations were correct. And yeah, there's going to be some number crunching here coming up. We're just making up a batch of silicon rubber. You remember this thing, the polydimethylsiloxane? Final step is to chemically react it in sulfur. It may not all be processed, but we should definitely have some. Yeah, 2000. And also polyphenylene sulfide. Yeah, that's right. Alright, so lots and lots of cell crafting later. We got ourselves almost 64 buckets of silicon rubber. 58 buckets. That's not going to be enough for everything we need, but it should be enough to get us past the next hurdle here. So as you saw, we did manage to get the Lapotronic energy orbs, 4 of them. Very, very expensive craft for us at this point, but well worth it, I think. And we're going to feed those using large gas turbines. Yeah, I've planned to craft 5 of these things to start with. Let's see if we have... Nope. What is this? Large stainless? Oh, there's the quest for it. I missed the questing. We did get our quest though. Lots of quests today. Okay, we're back with the pipes. Let's try that again. Yeah, I did plan to craft 5 of these gas turbines. 4, 5. There we go. So these things are the multi-block gas turbines which run from benzene. Or any gas fuel, actually. We can run this on natural gas, which is terrible, only 20,000. The best is actually nitrobenzene, which we might invest in later on. It's an upgrade from benzene, adding nitration mixture and water. There is an alternate recipe here with the chemical plant. I heard this one is getting removed. But yeah, for right now, we are just going to stick to using benzene. And I know what a lot of you guys are probably thinking right now. There is no way with our existing benzene setup that we can power 5 of these things. And yes, you would be correct in that, but we should be able to run it for at least some time and use the battery system to bank power. This over here is going to have to be upgraded or changed in some way soon. But these gas turbines are going to need some extra components along with the machine controller. The first of which is a new hatch we haven't made yet actually, and it's the dynamo hatch. And you can think of these things opposite to the energy hatch. It allows you to extract power from the multi-block. So we are going to craft the EV dynamo hatch, which can handle 1 amp of EV power, which is 2048 EU. Yeah, these things are pretty expensive. This is actually tungsten steel right here, plus power ICs and NAT coolant. But I did prepare for this, we should be able to get all 5. But each of these gas turbines, if we go with the configuration I have in mind, is going to give us 7,956 EU per tick. And that is just to start. We can actually overclock these things later, or just add more gas turbines. This might also be a quest. Wait, was it not a quest for the dynamo hatches? Oh, it's this one? It's for the energy hatch? Okay, I guess we haven't made that one yet. But yeah, the amount of power that you get from the gas turbine not only depends on the fuel that you run from it. The fuel determines the total amount of EU per cell, but there is also other factors like the turbine blade that you use. So inside the machine controller, you have to use a turbine. Let's see if we can open this up. Yeah, it goes in this slot here, and there is 131 different turbines in the game. So the numbers get... There is a lot of tool material. Basically every Gregtech tool in the game, or every Gregtech material in the game has a turbine variant, and they all give you different numbers here. And then on top of that, every turbine material has a specific fuel efficiency, meaning that you have to control exactly how much benzene you feed it. And we will go over that once we have all the materials for this gas turbine. But since this is going to give us 7,000 odd EU per tick, these things can only handle 2,000 EU per tick. We actually have to upgrade these to the buffered variant, using an EV circuit and some aluminium cable. This takes it from a 1 amp output to a 4 amp output. So 4 amps of EV is 8192, or in other words IV power, but it's still technically EV because it's coming out of an EV dynamo hatch. So even though it says 2048 there on the buffered variant, because we're allowed to pull out 4 amps, we are going to be able to safely extract the 7,000 EU per tick that the gas turbines will give us. Okay, and then the other things we need for this is maintenance hatches. We'll need 5. And then also input hatches for the fuel inputs. I think, yeah, LV should be fine. Let's grab 5 of these. And then there's also the casings, right? Which is just stainless steel turbine casing. Oh, turbine casing. Oh no. Oh no. Blue steel. Blue steel. I didn't think about this. Black steel, brass, rose gold, and steel. And let me guess, this is a blast furnace material? Yup. Yeah, so upon learning the fact that we need blue steel, I thought this was just regular stainless steel machine casing. I spent a little bit of time collecting and gathering materials, getting those things through the mixer, ready for the blast furnace. Alright, so just doing some napkin calculations here, I've determined that we need 4 stacks of blue steel and 12 stacks of a material called magnesium. The blue steel, we just passed 4 stacks in the mixer. Let's get all this into the blast furnace. We might as well make up the rest. I guess you can go in the hss-g. Should give us a pretty decent discount. And overclock, right? Yeah, 3 seconds per ingot, that's not too bad. Oh. Another firework display. But yeah, magnesium is also pretty easy, but I'm not sure we're going to have enough aluminium for 12 stacks. At least not without pulverizing some that's already been cooked. I wonder if there's some aluminium in here. I'm willing to bet there is. I'm pretty sure aluminium is one of the ores we can get on Mars, right? I don't know where the Mars chests are, but they're mixed in here somewhere. It's possible that we've already used it, but there is some other ways to get aluminium. And the magnesium here we make from the benzene system. Fortunately, this stuff is not a blast furnace recipe. The magnesium we only have to put through the regular furnace, which is still the steam oven for us. And yeah, this is the other side to the turbine casing. It takes 6 magnesium plates, so it's 780 magnesium, plus the blue steel frame boxes, and then you coat that in stainless steel, so that's another 780 stainless. That's if you want 5 of these turbines, and I think we do, right? I mean, if we're going to craft them, we might as well craft a few extra than we can support right now, just so we have some headroom. But there's over 1,000 stainless here, and a couple hundred still in the AE system. Oh yeah, we might actually have enough here. I think, yeah, we'll have enough magnesium for this. Just all has to be processed. Okay, so now, the other thing we need other than an epic looking space to put all these turbines in, which may or may not be something we get to today, but again, it's going to go down here somewhere. I haven't quite figured all of it out. I implemented this catwalk down here and extended down the wiring tunnels. I'm pretty sure the main wire is going to go up here, as we planned at the beginning of this build. But other than that, the specifics I haven't exactly figured out yet. But yeah, what I want to do now is actually gather the rotor material. And I was originally going to go for a shadow metal rotor, which is going to give us around 6,500 EU per tick. However, now that we actually have hss-g, we can mix this into hss-e. Yeah, hss-s needs osmium and iridium. There's no way we're getting those ones. But we can make hss-e. And the hss-e is the one which will give us nearly 8,000 EU per tick, 7,956. But this isn't as simple as just throwing it in the mixer that we have. We have a few different mixers. High-speed steel E is actually an IV recipe, meaning that we need the IV mixer. Of course it is, right? So, we are going to need 2 more IV circuits, 2 more Elite Nano computers. We should be able to autocraft these. On top of that, as we saw earlier, we don't have any more IV components, other than the pumps and some pistons, which I don't think we actually need for this mixer. No, we just need an IV electric motor. And for that, we'll have to use some more of this advanced glue. Fortunately, I did craft extra a number of episodes back to make graphene, and this is what the wires are used for the motors. Yeah, that's these things here. There's also tungsten cable, and this we are also going to need later on, which is why I smelted up some more tungsten here, and also the reason we just made up some more silicon rubber. So we can turn the tungsten into tungsten wire. Let's do a decent batch of this actually, let's make 32. We'll grab the polyphenylene sulfide, which we also have a decent backlog of. This is why you always make more than you need. The first rule of Gregtech. Always the first rule of Gregtech. Batchcraft, batchcraft, batchcraft. So some of the graphene is done, we can convert this into wire. And actually, I think this is the last of our graphite. So graphite we turn into graphene. Graphite we can actually get in diamond veins in ores in the world. And again, I'm pretty sure we have some graphite here. There is this neat trick actually that I learned about recently, which you can use NEI. If you double click the search bar, then it will actually show in the hollow... Oh yeah, look at that. Look at all that graphite. Yeah, let's toss this through the forge hammer. Not that we can coat all of this right now because we don't have enough wafer. Yeah, these things, the phosphorus doped wafer. Yeah, so now we can use the silicon rubber to coat the tungsten wire. Polyphenylene sulfide. I don't think we're going to coat all of it right now because tungsten is very precious for us. We're still actually got a very strong backlog of scheelite. I keep finding this stuff in all the chests and I'm processing it down as much as we possibly can. Normally things like the blast furnaces is actually things that I neglect quite often, but yeah, you really want to stay on top of your blast furnace stuff. It's very time consuming but very worthwhile when you have a decent backlog of EBF material. Okay, so we have the materials now for the electric motors. We can get 3. And actually we do have 2 IV loot bags here, which we are going to enchant. Because the last time we got the... Yeah, we have 2 fortune books left, that's perfect. Last time we got very, very lucky from these things. Let's see. That's very unlucky, that's awful. That's terrible. PIC wafers and heavy duty alloy. We are still left with 1 to craft the mixer. But actually you'll notice the other thing we need here is a special type of glass. And it's that borosilicate something or other again. Fortunately it's been many hours since I filmed that clip and I've been processing down quite a bit of rock salt. I think I left it in the furnace over here actually. Yeah, there's borosilicate glass. We did get our glass fiber quest. If we alloy smelt this with a block mold, yeah, it gives us borosilicate glass. But this is the wrong tier. The glass we need is the IV tier, as you can see on the tooltip. So it either has to be tungsten reinforced, ALF glass, or thorium yttrium glass. These tooltips are a nightmare to try and read here. And the only one we can craft right now is the tungsten steel glass. And this thing is an EV recipe in a fluid solidifier. Along with like, what is that, 5 ingots of molten tungsten steel per glass block. And we also don't have an EV fluid solidifier either. We're close though. We are very close to being able to make one of these things. Okay, EV fluid solidifier. We just have to melt down some tungsten steel. I think it's going to be like 20 ingots, right? Out of power. I guess the blast furnaces ate all the super tanks back here. Yeah, I did actually chain like 5 tanks together because I knew these blast furnaces were going to be running for a while. But I guess these are on separate supplies over here. Not the most ideal placement for this fluid solidifier, to say the least, but we are getting our very expensive tungsten reinforced borosilicate glass blocks. 4 of them, and we're a little short on tungsten steel. Yeah, it's like half a stack of tungsten steel just for these 4 glass blocks. That is madness. And honestly, I don't think we're going to get this turbine set up today. It was a lot of preparation and crafting just to get the materials for this thing. We did make some very necessary technological breakthroughs though in the form of the hss-g. Huge backlog of materials here for things like blue steel. In fact, let's get all this in rod form. Okay, there's the 4 expensive glass. I don't actually know if we have any more IV machine casings for this. Of course, that is going to be even more tungsten steel. I definitely should have made more tungsten steel. Yeah, IV machine casing, tungsten cable, and polytetrafluoroethylene. And the circuit should already be auto-crafted for us. We should be able to just shift-click this IV mixer, right? Oh no. The circuits got stuck. Or did we use them? Oh no, they're in here. I guess I just turned off automatic output when I was crafting the Lapotronic energy orbs. Yeah, so we do actually have them. Okay. Yeah, 2 elite nanocomputers, a tungsten steel rotor, and we have our IV mixer, which should be a quest. Right, game? Yes. And the second white machine, which again, we are just going to power right here. I mean, we could use the IV Lapotronic batteries for this, but we don't have any way to charge those just yet. So with this thing, we can start to mix up the hss-e. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough hss-g dust. Yeah, we want to craft this thing here. The large turbine hss-e. So I did some more calculations. We need 5 turbines. It's 12 blades per turbine rotor, 6 ingots per blade. That's 360 hss-e. And to mix 360 pieces of hss-e, that's 240 hss-g. Which, after this recipe, we should now have in this chest. I thought I'd make up a fresh batch since we will have to replace these turbine rotors eventually. The turbines do have a durability, as you can see. Wait, it's this one. The durability of hss-e is 3 million, over 3 million, so they're going to last a long time. But still, we do have to think about replacements. I think by the time we have to replace those, we're going to be in a much better state in terms of the EBFs and just the general automation around the base. So I think even though the first rule of Gregtech is to always craft more than you need, in this case it doesn't really make sense, right? So yeah, for now we'll start off with just enough for 5 large turbines. So it's going to be hss-g, manganese dust, raw silicon, and cobalt. There's probably a circuit number here as well. Circuit 1. Yeah, there we go. And 35 seconds later, we got the first dust of hss-e. Or the first 9, I suppose. And of course, as we know from multiple times this episode, this also has to go through the blast furnace. Blast furnaces are very, very important here. Let's see how long this is going to take. Circuit 11. Don't tell me we have to overclock this. Oh, it's cooked with helium gas. Yeah, helium gas is not something we're giving. We have it here though. And it's 125 seconds. So yeah, equivalent to tungsten steel. That is going to take a very long time. I think we'll have to hook up a tank for the insertion of this helium here. But yeah, I've started to make up some of the blue steel casings, the blue steel frame boxes. And yeah, it's just a matter of putting all this together now. However, I think the hardest part is actually, well, not, that's that's not true. The hardest part is yet to come. The hardest part is next episode when we have to try to put all this puzzle together. But honestly, this is just like my favorite part of the game right here, where you're not absolutely struggling with materials, but you can actually plan out big, oh, hello creeper. Yeah, you can actually plan out big projects like this. But yeah, the rest of this, I think we're going to save for next episode. I didn't realize how long this one was getting. If you guys have any suggestions on what we can do for the power room, I do have a few ideas. I've been messing around in the creative world. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I'm going to be here waiting on this HSS high-speed steel. Not very high speed, low speed. But yeah, that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next episode of New Horizons.